So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani, and I am one of the co founders of Bloom. It gives me great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this 255th. Yes, you heard it right. Today is our episode number 255, non-stop. 255 weeks ago, in the pandemic, we started the Bloom Sunday Talk Show, thinking that, people are sitting at home. Let us connect with people from change makers who are experts, who are trainers, coaches, speakers, people who have done something different in their lives. And if we can learn from their life's experience, if we can get inspired, motivated, just to shift our mindset, even if that 1% shift was possible, we would consider ourselves that our work is done. From that day till today, we have had 254 people plus joining us, where we have learned from people across the globe. In fact, every continent has been represented on this program, courtesy our very own scientist Sri Ram Prasad Lalji, who is joining us. So everybody from every continent in the world has appeared as a guest on the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Continuing that tradition, we have a very special guest with us today. We have Sudheer Pathak who is joining us, and he will be speaking to us on building resilience, resilient leaders and organization. Sudhir is a resiliency expert and a coach. He is also a keynote speaker, and he is associated with us in the Professional Speakers Association of India. Welcome to the show, Sudhir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deepak ji. And first of all, congratulations for 255th, right? I mean, and that too
Yes.
is continuous. So that's the consistency or the discipline is the more important thing, Deepak ji.
Yes, yes. If there was an example of resiliency, it would have
Ah,
been our show.
indeed. I must
Yes,
agree on that because
yes,
255, it's not that it should all have been smooth. You must have faced
yes.
some hiccups,
Yeah,
challenges. It
yeah,
could be
yeah,
technical, personal, and many more issues. So you put it
yeah.
absolutely spot on, Deepak ji.
Yes, and as I always say, come rain or shine, online or offline, every Sunday, 12:30 in the afternoon, we've been there speaking with people, learning from people, helping change people's lives. So, Sudhir, instead of me introducing you, let me ask you to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, why you do it, what made you choose resilience as a topic, and how, with your experience, your expertise, and your coaching and training, you are helping people and organizations change their lives for the better.
Sure. Thank you very much, Deepak ji, once again. Deepak ji, I am a resilience expert, as you put up in the introduction as well, right? And I work towards building resilient leaders and the organizations so that they can thrive on the outset of, I'll say, the setbacks or the challenges, right? So that's exactly where the pressure comes in. People tend to give up, people tend to lose their momentum, they lose that synergy. So I, as a resiliency expert, basically, I'll say, help people or catalyzes people to stand at that point and to thrive onto that challenges. Because I firmly believe, Deepak ji, that challenges generally do not come alone, right? They are the biggest source of the opportunities. That's where the opportunities emerges as well. If you stay grounded and if you keep your focus on. And how did I bring myself to this part of as a resiliency expert? I'll say I have a story, Deepak ji, with due respect, I would like to share. I was just
Please.
25. Yeah, I was just 25 years old, Deepak ji, when I freshly came out of college, and I come from a very middle class family. My parents moved from a farming, from a farming background, staying in the villages, and then came to Delhi just to see their children grow. So at the age of 25, with huge expectations, right? That okay, this son of ours will do something for us, right? This kind of mental setup with parents used to have, still have. So I
Yeah.
post graduated from Masters of Computer Application, and I was looking for job. What exactly I was looking for job, but life basically had other big plans for me, right? I was thinking big from life.
Yeah.
Life in return gave another big to me. So at the age of 25, Deepak ji, I got diagnosed with a kidney failure. And when I say kidney failure, it means both my kidneys failed. And ironically, whenever someone, 99% of the time, someone gets diagnosed with kidney failure, it's always at the stage where both are failed. It's never the case
Yeah.
that one is failed. So I got diagnosed, and you can feel that how difficult it would have been for a person who is aspiring to be something is ultimately getting into the hospitals and taking rounds and rounds to the hospitals to get things done. And to me, this long story short, this whole ordeal, stayed for some 7.5 years from 2005 till nearly end of 2011, I'll say. And the
Hmm.
initial 3.5 years, where I was not even knowing what resilience is. I was just flowing through with whatever life was throwing at me. I had weak finances, relationships were broken, loved ones were leaving me, job was at turmoil. So it's like there was a lot of emotional disbalance as well. There were parents who were seeing me in that stage, and it was difficult to see them in return. A lot of turmoil in those 3.5 years. But the later 3.5 years, I started understanding that, how a mindset change, or how once you start seeing things differently, possibly can change your life. I was still very young that time, so 27, 28, when in the middle of those 7 years ordeal. But then once I overcame all those things, Deepak ji, that's the time, I still remember that I had this one burning question in my head. I started understanding life, but I started getting this thing in my head that had I died somewhere in those 6, 7 years, what would have been my story? So it would have been possibly a 25, 26, 27-year-old guy died with kidney failure. So I just thought that it's a waste of story. And then at that time I started thinking that let me make my story bigger than myself. Let us bring some more value to this story. And that's from that
Hmm.
point onwards, Deepak ji, the purposeful journey has started. And I started taking very gradual steps. I work for a corporate as well. So it's not that I took resiliency expert as a career straight away. But having said that, I started working towards that, started contributing to people's life by one way or the other. And then, in the year 2018 or 19, we started our own NGO with, in collaboration with someone in Pune. And with 4 to 5 kids, we started taking care of their studies, their well-being, etc. And
Hmm.
today we have some 450 kids. I'm very, very happy to say this thing,
Wonderful.
where we take our centers near to their slum areas, and we have 3 centers, and we have taken nearly 125, 115 each center, and we teach them, we feed them, we take care of their social well-being, we take care of their health. We are recently, just today, in one of the centers, the health checkup camp is running. So a lot of things are happening. So I'll say I have a quite a selfish aspect on that. As I said, I just want to make my story bigger than myself. That will always be my purpose. But then that is not the only purpose. I understood the meaning of resilience and how it can help you to achieve which you cannot even think of. And
Hmm.
coming from the corporate, Deepak ji, I understand how much of resilience is needed, right? Sometimes we fail a person just because we do not see the potential which he or she has. We see him or her as a culprit to the project. So we have to bring that
Hmm.
resilience as a culture in the project. We have to bring
Yeah.
individual resilience to people to sail through, especially in the world of
Yeah.
AI where there's a lot of fear around, right? So
Yeah.
so people tend to understand that what to embrace, what to leave. It's very
Yeah.
important to understand what to leave as well.
Yeah.
And similarly with organizations as well, Deepak ji. Now I have started working towards organization, building organizational resilience, which is different than individual resilience, let me tell you.
Yes.
But let's not get in there. But that's my whole story, how it started and how it is now, where exactly it is heading to, Deepak ji.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that personal life experience of yours. And even before we move into the subject or the topic, my question to you is, how does both the kidneys fail in a 25-year-old? I mean, was it due to pollution? Is it water, air? Is it hereditary, genetic, or you are plain simple unlucky?
I will put the tick against the last option which you put in. I mean, it's simple unlucky. But having said that, doctors do their diagnosis, and it did happen. But I don't know. Unfortunately, when the biopsy happened, it happened in one of the best reputed hospitals, which is All India Institute of Medical Sciences. But
Yeah.
still, the outcomes were not very conclusive. And then
Hmm.
I left it at that point onward. So
Yeah.
since you asked, right, the doctor who did the biopsy, he's like one of the senior directors now, and he's very good friend of mine. So he still says that, Sudhir, I did your biopsy and nothing conclusive came out. I said that's okay, right? I mean, whatever has to happen had to happen, rather happened. So Deepak ji, I don't know how did it happen. Possibly I was carrying it since birth. Nobody knows. Maybe some I'll say medical reactions of some medicines, etc. I don't know. I sincerely don't know. Maybe a wrong injection or something sometime to which I am not aware of. So I have absolutely no idea how did it happen.
Wow. Wow. And how did you get treated? Was there a transplant or was this
Yeah.
medicines? Or yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. So the ordeal of that 7 years, Deepak ji, ended with a transplant. So someone in the family who is my cousin only. So after a lot of convincing and the stuff, he basically got ready. I think
Wonderful.
a huge thanks to him, because if I am
Yeah.
survive or if I'm living today, there is a
Yeah.
part of him living in me. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the truth.
Incredible. I mean, whatever you say, you need to give it to, modern medicine and doctors where, you take out a kidney from another human being and then put it into somebody else. And then, two lives get back on track, really. So modern medicine is really a wonder, and these doctors who are doing this, they are doing a fantastic job. Okay, so now let's proceed. You said, we can talk about individual resilience, and we can talk about corporate resilience. First of all, is resilience a new buzzword? Why I'm asking is, 10, 15 years we never heard about resilience, and if anything else was taken as discipline or elasticity. Resilience as a buzzword has come into being in the last 10, 12 years. Am I wrong, or is there some other story?
Uh, Deepak ji, you're right with respect to the word, right? The word as a resilience, which people sometimes take it on with grit and perseverance as well, but they
Hmm.
all three have a different meaning. So let's not get into the technicalities.
Yeah.
But as a word, it has started, I'll say grooming and blooming now, which is a fact. But resilience in concept and resilience in action is not new, right? We all must be knowing it, and I know it from my personal stories as well. So just to give you a flair, right, since you asked is it a new buzzword,
Yeah.
I'll not say a buzzword, but with respect to the word you can say, but as I said, in action it is very old. So sometimes people do ask me, Deepak ji, that how did you show this level of resilience?
Hmm.
Is it genetics? Is it something which you build, or did you know it beforehand?
Hmm.
And if we see technically, Deepak ji, it is actually a combination of all three. And sometimes it could be, genetically present at certain extent, because there are research which says that, if your father, mother, grandfathers are carrying that kind of level of resilience, if
Wow.
not more, you will possibly be carrying an iota of it. And then
Hmm.
definitely, I, as a person who now trains people and, coaches people, put it as a skill. even if you do not have it, it can be built as a skill, Deepak. And
Mm.
that's, I think, to me, that is the biggest part of the resilience. If
Yeah.
you do not have it, this can be built as a skill.
Yeah.
So this can be learned. But coming to the point wherein I was being asked that, how did you build resilience? So I have, see, Deepak ji, I have seen my father, and he did not put himself as a resilient person. Let us be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
he came from a farming background, So we used to, I mean, we still have agricultural land in Uttar Pradesh near Lucknow, and what my father had at that time was a lot of, I'll say, he was in a lot of debt. So he moved to Delhi with his family, and he's where exactly did he start working? In a gas station or petrol pump in India's language. And he worked there continuously, put up his hard work with, and he always had this one intention, that let my kids be educated enough to
Yeah.
take care of their well-being. And with his meager salary, Deepakji, it was not sufficient, So he saw a lot of challenges, right? It was not always good. It was all not always a good food or a good clothes or a good lifestyle or a good
Yeah.
environment, a good friend circle, right? So
Yeah.
he sailed through all those things to
Mm.
put me to the state where I am in right now.
Yeah.
So he did not categorize it resilience, but I saw the resilience. Sometimes the salary came later, but the school fees, date of school fees came first.
Yeah.
A simple example. So you have to stay resilient to overcome that difference of 7 days. How did you
Yeah.
manage? To whom do you go to take the, to borrow the money, etc. So I have seen it
Yes.
all. So I don't
Yeah.
know whether it is coming genetically or not, but I feel that resilience has helped me to take care of the things when I was ready to show resilience, Deepak ji.
Wonderful. Well said. Now let's get into brass tacks and let's talk about resilience as one, how it matters to individuals, how it matters to organizations. Is it same, or individual resilience is different and organizational resilience is different? Why? Because an organization is made up of many different people. All of them may not be on the same plane. All of them may not be resilient enough so that they get together and the organization moves up. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So, Deepak ji, first of all, individual resilience and organizational resilience are two different things. So let me put it this way, because you made a statement that you will not find all the resilient people in a group, and then that will make an resilient organization. But
Yeah.
let me tell you, Deepak ji, that even if you get all the resilient people in a group, they
Hmm.
will not make a resilient organization.
Wow.
Because when I am individually resilient, let's assume,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you are individually resilient, Shrini is individually resilient, and Ram Prasad ji is individually resilient. So we
Yeah.
have our own way of resilience. We have our own passions, our own systems, our own level of perseverances, and we would like to achieve something at our own individual level. So if
Hmm.
our goals are not aligned, right, we cannot contribute to build an organizational towards the resilience. We might
Hmm.
be resilient towards ourselves, to our goals, but
Hmm.
for the things to happen or for an organization to build as a resilient organization, it does not totally depends on the resilient individual. So it has to
Yeah.
be a mix, Deepak ji.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is good that a person is not resilient, so that you should be able to train the person in
Yeah.
alignment with your goal to bring
Yes.
that organizational resilience. So
Yeah.
individual resilience and organizational resilience are different in working in different in structures as well.
Yeah.
I just, want to give it more stress, to bring more clarity to the audience that how it differentiates, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, let me put it this way. Let's say that, for example, artificial intelligence, Deepak ji, right?
Yeah.
I see that you speak a lot about that as well. I come from artificial intelligence background as well. I'm an AI leader in my corporate world, so I know it. It's a disruptive technology, right? It's a
Yeah.
it's a disruptive technology. So to take the advantage of the disruptive technology, the organizational has to be resilient enough to take that, right?
Yeah.
So if you live in a Kodak movement, that someday when the AI will grow, and then I will take the opportunity and will try to bring on that, then you are
Yeah.
too late in that game. Then you are
Yeah.
ultimately heading towards Kodak kind of a, I'll say downfall, or not even existing now.
Yeah.
So for organizational resilience, if you have to build the resilience, you will have to, you know, take the disruptive technologies, I'll say at the very beginning, and then you have to build around it,
Yeah.
So there are two type of technologies. One is sustainable, which you're already working upon, which is already giving you a lot of money. But then there
Yeah.
is something disruptive, which do not have a lot of market right now, which is grooming, which is building, which is blooming possibly. So that ways organizational resilience will be totally different. That how your set of people take this disruptive technology and build on that and let the organization sail through this, right? But for
Yeah.
individual, it could be totally different way. You might be passionate about, drawing or art, but your work is more towards AI. But then you show your resilience to build towards your level of, art or craft, etc. Whereas an
Yes.
individual resilience altogether different. So it's different, Deepak ji.
Yeah. So, I mean, just continuing in that direction, is there something called a resiliency quotient, or is there something called a resilient number, which can actually measure how resilient you are, which means you are weak, you are right there in the middle, you are good, or you are too good. Is there something like that?
Okay, it's a good question, and I will also tell you. I will take this opportunity to tell that I, along with one of my another resilient coach, I'll say resiliency coach, he is. We are working towards building this resilience score, or I'll say resilience maturity framework. That's what we are.
Wonderful.
That's what we are calling to, and so. And what we are trying to achieve is to get to the numbers, right? Where what
Yeah.
does the number says and where exactly do you stand? And
Yeah.
then there should be an implementation plan to say if you want to go from number 3 to number 5, let's assume the number 5 is the topmost, then what are the
Hmm.
action items, or what are the behavioral changes, or the courses, or whatever you want to call it, you have to do. So to
Yeah.
answer your question, is there a number system exists? I mean, see, there are a lot of professionals I see which put the grit scores and the stuff, etc. So to certain extent, yes, and to certain extent no as well, because resilience, to bring resilience as a tangible thing, sometimes it gets difficult. People think
Yeah.
that it is more internal, it is not
Yes.
something which is tangible. But I
Yeah.
think it's always good to get into the quantitative things,
Hmm.
because that will allow people to measure it, and once
Yeah.
we are able to measure it, I think then we are able to improve. So
Yes.
we are working towards that, Deepak ji. Maybe after some time we will be able to come up and show the resilience score as well, and
Yeah.
then implementation plan to improve on the resiliency score, Deepak ji. But at the
Wonderful.
moment we are more towards individual. The second phase will be more towards organizational.
So, Sudhir, you shared us your story of, at 25, where both your kidneys failed, and the next 5, 7 years, really difficult time, and you finally, emerged, for a lack of a better word, victorious. And now you talk about resiliency. It is easier for you to talk about it, or you have the conviction because you've been through a difficult time, and that was the learning for you. For somebody who hasn't had, difficult times, or hasn't been through some sort of an experience like yours, how do you teach them the importance of resilience? How do they understand that?
Yes. Again, very, very, very important question, Deepak ji. And it's a misbelief in the world and in the society. Then that is, one has to see or go through the hardships to be resilient in the world, right?
Okay.
So it's not necessary. Please try to understand, right? But having said that, I have not seen a single person who has not seen challenges in his or her life, right? So it has
Clearly.
the
Yeah.
coin has both the sides.
Yes.
But that does not mean that a person X will be saying, "Oh, I should be, I should be getting all the hardships to build that resilience as a skill." That's
Yeah.
not needed. So I'll give you an
Yeah.
example, right? I think that will
Yeah.
make a lot of things clear. So for my son, right, who is just he's turning 5 in this month itself, 5 years old, I mean to say. I don't want him to show all the challenges, see all the challenges in a life, because as a parent, I always want that his life to be smooth. But at this juncture and from here onwards, we can still build that resilience. How will you do that? So I'll give you a small example, right? We, for example, you as a parent or I as a parent, we always appreciate our kids when they come first in the class, right? When he won a story, I'll say storytelling competition. He recently won it, so he maybe again some genetics from my side, but he recently won it, and there was a lot of appreciation, and he expected to get that, right? But then he had no interest in coloring, and there was no appreciation for him for that. But
Hmm.
once he attempted for that and
Yeah.
he failed in that, I made a point to appreciate him during that time as well. So what
Hmm.
I'm internally trying to do is build a kind of a resilience that, the failures will come. That does not mean that you have to stop there. And appreciation should always not come when you have achieved something. It should
Hmm.
ideally be coming when you are trying to achieve something. So there is a
Hmm.
difference. So when you are
Yeah.
trying to achieve, you are actually building that skill, right?
Yeah.
And Deepak ji, again a story. I have seen it when I was in school. I saw one of my friends who was in class 10th committing a suicide in the class
Oh,
10th.
wow.
At that time I was not aware, but now I can see and I can think that there was definitely some deficiency or there was pressure, you know on the resilience side. He was not being given that kind of direction clearly. So I feel it can still be built, and it is
Hmm.
not necessary that you should see all the challenges, right? So
Yeah.
let me just put you three things, right? That's how I coach my, I'll say, the people or the organizations as well. So I think the first thing which you need is the passion, and passion does not mean a blind passion. It means it is coming out of the interest, right?
Yeah.
And then how much do you practice it? That's the
Yeah.
second thing. And the third thing is the purpose which you are building around it. So
Yeah.
if we can mold people in these three areas, resilience can be built even if they have not seen the hardships.
Hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. Really, we are almost half an hour into our show, and there is so much to absorb and learn and understand. And I'm just thinking, does resilience, have any link to the way your brain is wired? They say that neuroplasticity or neuroelasticity, is there any relationship over there? Or it again comes back to the same question where if somebody has gone through an experience, are they likely to be more resilient?
I mean, see, to answer your first question, it does have, right? So, how you are taking your decision. So, as simple as this, right, Deepak ji, that once you once you face challenges, right, and we all know about the breathing exercises. So,
Yes.
even if you breathe, inhale and exhale for, say, let's assume just for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
your way of thinking towards those challenges or the obstacles which you are seeing will
Yeah.
will change. Your perspective will change. So
Yeah.
it definitely, there is a bit of mindfulness, or there is I'll say not bit of, but there is a lot of mindfulness which is required, which is required to get
Yeah.
on and to show that level of grit, and then turning it into a resilience.
Yes.
But let me also tell you, Deepak ji, it is somebody who has seen, or rather overcome, a challenge will be able to overcome the subsequent challenge very easily because he has seen it. There is
Hmm.
no proven data around that. Let me also tell you, right?
Okay. Okay.
So it is a skill. So you have to
Yeah.
practice the skill, right? So
Yeah.
what I mean to say is like this, right? For example, an actor uh,
Yeah.
who has delivered a a remarkable role in one of the movies.
Yeah.
Same actor with the same remarkable acting skills has
Yeah.
filmed 5 subsequent movies. So his
Yeah.
acting skills did not get changed.
Yes.
It's still there, but possibly
Yeah.
he is not improving as the challenges are improving. Uh,
Yes.
so it's that ways the mindset has to be built. So
Yeah.
we have to think through. Every challenge
Yeah.
will be different. But
Yes.
once a skill is built, you have to definitely upskill yourself as well, Deepak ji. That's the
Yes,
point.
and that was a very good example, and the thought immediately came to my mind, we may have a cricketer who makes score back-to-back centuries in a test match and in the next innings get out for zero.
Yeah.
So those two centuries back-to-back have got no relevance to
Yeah.
what he or she may be going to be doing next,
Yes.
or that's the way they may be performing.
Yes.
Srini Hari had raised his hand. Would you want to say or ask something? Unmute yourself. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Om Shri.
Yeah, hi Deepak, and hi Sudhir. Nice to meet you. It's been a long time. Actually, me and Sudhir used to work. I used to report to Sudhir for quite some time
Wonderful.
uh,
Thank you for
in
joining
one
in.
of the previous
Go ahead.
organizations.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I was just asking. I think he pretty much answered it. So what is like the strategy to follow, Sudhir? Like, suppose if there's like repeated failures, right? Like even if you're like mentally resilient and you keep on like failure back to back to back, like 10, 15 years of continuous failure, whatever initiatives you do, keep failing. What strategy do you take that for that?
Good
Okay.
question. Good question.
Right. So Srini, first of all, let me acknowledge this that uh, whenever the challenges will come, there will be pain, right? So you can talk about a lot of motivation and a lot of strategies and all those things, but you first will have to accept that pain, right? No motivation, nothing can stop that pain which is coming with the failure or which is coming with the hurt or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So first of all, it is important for us to be as an acceptance, Shri. Okay, Shri, to answer your question, I'll just put a small story, not to motivate you, but not just to give you that strategy which basically you are asking for, right? So it's a story of my friend. Again, he was in school, and he was good in something. Okay, he was good in drawing, but he was never considered good academically because he was not good in maths, he was not good in science, etc., but very poor in maths basically. So he always used to get a compartment. That what time it was used to call compartment or a supplementary, whatever you want to call it, right from the age of, or I'll say the class of fourth. So fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, for the whole of those years, it was somehow he was being promoted, on special remarks. Sometimes he failed on maths, and then, on request, he was being promoted, something of that sort, right? In the internal exams, he failed. Somehow he managed to cross the final exams. But once the board came, Srini, he actually failed the board exams in class 12 on mathematics, and everyone labeled him as a failure. And it's relevant because you mentioned about 10 to 15 years of failure, right? So this guy was seeing 10 to 15 years of failure consistently in maths, and you can imagine that what kind of a labeling has been done. He is poor in maths, he cannot do good in his life, he is not good, he's bad in everyone's eyes, etc., as well. So he went through that. uh, After the class 12, I mean, in the class 12, he took, instead of 5 subjects, he took 6, and the sixth was that drawing on which he was good at. So just because he had drawing, he was able to get a cumulative score and he was able to get promoted. So that's the way he cleared 12 with that label of a very poor or a bad student. Then what happened, right? It's, see, I always say, don't try to be resilient alone. You will never be able to achieve it. Once you are trying to be resilient, you will have to find your support system. You will have to ask for help. If you are not able to clear an interview, if you're not able to get a job, for example, it's very difficult that you will be able to achieve it all alone. You have to have that people around you, your references, your contacts, your family members who should be able to talk to you to build that resilience in you. And he also did pretty much the same thing at such a tender age. His father was his support, so he built a support system around him, and he asked him, or rather pushed him, to continue with his drawing and arts. Okay. And then he started doing all those things. He After 12th, I still remember, if he told me correctly, he got admission in some, he was trying, for some good colleges. He did not get it because he was not good at that time. But he did not stop practicing. That's one of the keyword I mentioned, you practicing. So he had a talent in drawing, but talent alone won't take you to much places. So he's continued practicing around it to such a level, Srini, that he built a skill now. That talent is now converted into a skill. He got admission into bachelor's in fine arts, which was not a very reputed college, in Shankar's College of Fine Arts somewhere. But he continued his practice, and now he transformed it to the level of passion. He now had a passion to do something in the field of area where he was liking it, where it was his interest area, right? So he built around it. And with that passion, with that practice, he overcame that trauma of failing in 12th, and ultimately he got admission in National Institute of Design, if I'm not wrong. It's in Ahmedabad somewhere, right? And I was talking to him some 7-8 years ago. I said, what all has happened? He told me one thing again, which is key to resilience, and that is purpose. He said, I am able to transform everything because I built a purpose around it. Now just to bring his story to the closure, now he's sitting somewhere in US for last 10 years. He worked for Amazon, he worked for Nokia, he worked for Nvidia, he worked for all the reputed organizations. He is a chief some designing officer or something in some organization. I'm not in very regular touch with him, but this much information I have. But he told me one thing about the purpose. He said that now I don't want to work for myself or even for my organization. I want to take the use of technology to take my designs to the level where even the unemployed people should be able to understand and transform. So what I'm saying is, a person failing in maths, bringing a practice, passion, and the purpose, and taking it to the altogether level, right? To your question, it might be all sounding theory, but once it gets start implemented in the life, Srini, I will not ask you to not take the pain, not take the learnings out of it. You should, but start putting these strategies in place, right? Start practicing. Is this something of your interest area, which can come out of all these failures, which can transform into a passion? Can there a purpose be built around it? And most important, Srini, is who is your support system, right? It's very, very important. We cannot do everything all alone. Even the resilience can't be built alone. We need people around us. I hope I answered, if not all, to some
Yes.
extent, Srini.
Very nice explanation. Yeah.
Good explanation. Well answered. It was slightly bit long, but it is important to have that in context. My next question to you is, Sudhir, is there a cultural background to resilience, which means, are we as Indians a little bit more resilient, let's say, compared to the West? And my question is because we have seen some difficult times in 30, 40, 50 years, just two generations before we were born. You gave the example of your dad, farmer, and, finding it difficult to make ends meet. And we've all gone through those real life experiences of our fathers and grandfathers. So, is there a cultural background to this? People probably from the Far East or East are a little bit more resilient than maybe the West, or we are just generalizing?
No, Deepak, we are not generalizing. Culture has a very big and huge impact in building resilience. Even in some of my talks or posts, I mentioned, resilience as a culture. Because once you bring resilience as a culture, or to the way you put the question, right? Once the culture is this way, that it builds resilience in you, the impact or the lasting, it becomes long lasting. It is there as a culture, right? So what I mean to say is this, Deepak. So for me, being an Indian from north side of things, my culture is to always touch my parents' feet whenever they come to home, right?
Yeah.
My culture is that whenever I get to a temple, I should always be folding hands in front of the idols or in front of the Lord. So that is my culture. Now, since it is a culture, it has become a habit to me.
Yeah.
It is not that somebody is teaching me now. It has been
Yeah.
inculcated as a habit, and now I am reflecting that habit which has been taught to me. So that
Yeah.
is the impact of culture. So once resilience is in culture, Deepak,
Yeah.
it makes a huge impact and it stays for long.
Mm.
I remember this story. I'll just take 1 minute to put it this thing. We are very resilient people, right? You rightly mentioned the couple of generations ago, the hardships which we saw in the life made us more resilient. So this is in if I'm remembering it correctly, this is in Denmark or somewhere where this Sisu culture is there, right? There is a small country. Either it's in Denmark or Finnish. It's Finnish. I'm sorry, I forgot. So they have this culture named as Sisu, and this Sisu is about resilience. What do they mean to say is that over the generations ago, since they were a small country, they built the resilience that if somebody attacks them, they
Yeah.
should be able to capable of take care of their territory. Not only that, since it was most of the times winters, so they should be taught the hardship to earn their
Mm.
food, to
Yeah.
survive without the food as well.
Yeah.
And the impact is now they are reflecting that resilience in day-to-day life, right? In their
Mm.
jobs, in their businesses, etc. So that's the impact of resilience, Deepakji.
Yeah.
As a culture, I
Oh,
mean to say.
yeah. I mean, let's continue this further. We understand that our parents and grandparents, came from a very difficult background. They, spent everything, all of their time and energy in trying to make ends meet and taking care of their family. Our next generation, again, for want of a better word, is getting spoiled. We are trying to give our children, our next generation, what we didn't have. They ask for something and it is ready for them. Will that make them a little bit less resilient? That is my question.
So, Deepakji, I'll ask a question in response to your question. Okay.
Okay.
Who do you think is responsible to make them less resilient?
It is us, of course.
Exactly. So that is what I mean to say. So see, it is very easy for us to put a finger on a generation saying they are less resilient, they are less capable, their focus is
Mm.
less, their
Yeah.
exposure is more on the screen and all those kind of a things.
Yeah.
But they are not born with that, right? They
Yeah.
possibly carry certain things. I understand, there is a thing which is far behind on the scientific side, but let's not get in there. But
Yeah.
it's not that they were born with the laptop. They are born with the less resilience, or they are born with the not obeying their parents. They were not born as rebellions, right? They
Yes.
they were born
Yes.
as we were born. So
Yes.
it's totally our responsibility as well, Deepak ji, that what do we
Mm.
bring it on to our generations. I,
Yeah.
with due respect, do not believe that this generation in totality is less resilient or is or any other drawbacks which we see them, and
Mm.
hence I am actively working on that is slightly back on the priority right now, but this is something which I am working on, is raising resilient kids, right? So
Mm.
that's another
Mm.
program on which we are working, and then we'll be taking it to the schools as well,
Wonderful.
to take them to be more resilient. But
Yeah.
I also agree to your points, to the certain extent, Deepak ji, that if we see it with a generalized eyes, we see
Mm.
these younger generations, more, I'll say, less on temperament. They are short tempered. They sometimes their focus is less. They are too
Yeah.
judgmental. But
Yeah.
it's also important to see that how we can, channelize that energy for their own
Mm.
betterment. We just
Yes.
always can't be a parents of who are just judging. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see it with a different way, and they all are good to be changed. It's not like they are not ready. They are.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, just continuing what we were discussing, how easy or how difficult is it for a person like you when you are coaching or training or leading people, talking to them about resilience? How difficult is it to talk to a, let's say, a 20-year-old versus a 45-year-old about resilience?
Okay, that's a good question. I never thought it never thought it this way. Uh, uh, See, they both have their own set of advantages and disadvantages, right? I come from NLP background as well, so I put it this way: for a 20-year-old, the biggest advantage is that their file system in the brain
Yes.
still have some open disk spaces, right? So it's easy for you to put the right things on those open disk spaces and get
Yeah.
the things built on from there.
Yeah.
And one more thing, Deepak ji, be it now, be it 50 years ago, or be it 100 years after, people are fascinated by stories. And even the
Always.
younger generations are fascinated by stories. So
Yes.
if I'll say you will coach them, or if you will mentor them in a stories ways, or the storytelling or the story showing ways, it's
Yeah.
easy for these people or the younger generation to understand. So this is
Yeah.
one of the biggest advantage, that their file system still have some disk space to be filled in.
Yes.
The advantage, I'll say, with the 45-year-olds are that they have seen enough in those 45
Yes.
years to
Yes.
understand, once I say you have to, thrive on the challenges. So they are able to relate, right? What did you
Yeah.
learn from
Yeah.
your challenges? They're able to relate. They have seen it.
Yes.
It's very
Yeah.
difficult if someone has not seen it, then to bring in a picture and make them visualize. No,
Yes.
it's very difficult for me to think about a country, let's say Ghana. I have never been there, so I will only be, whatever vivid images are there, it will be coming.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, they both have their own set of advantages and disadvantages. But if you will ask me my opinion, or I as a person, I'll be more than delighted to work with a 20-year-old, because I see there are more chances of improvement. And then once they are developed, they possibly will be far, far, far better once they reach in 45 years old.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well explained. Again, you said you are from the tech background and you are working with AI. How can we use or leverage AI to make this concept of becoming more resilient better, or how we can send out that message, especially to the younger generation?
Yes. So I think with AI, the way it is grooming right now, resilience fits in very nicely, Deepak ji. First of all, let us all understand this, right? If you have to if you have to grow in today's world, you will have to be resilient towards AI. What I mean to say is this. See, resilience means, are you embracing that challenge or the setback or the change which is coming in your life, right?
Yes.
So the artificial intelligence, there is a lot of fear. I must put up with your platform and want to broadcast this thing, that there is a lot of fear around that since AI is coming, it is taking it is taking the jobs, it is
Yeah.
making people possibly less creative and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But you be fearful to the whatever extent you want to be. Let me tell you, AI is here to stay and AI is here to grow. So
Of
if you
course.
will stay fearful, you will never
Yeah.
ever be resilient to embrace
Yeah.
this technology. You
Yeah.
will have to embrace this change to
Mm.
take the best out of the artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Now, the point is, yes, it is taking jobs, but I can tell you from my own experiences, it is creating jobs as well in plethora. We
Yes.
are just not focusing on that because we are very
Yeah.
fearful that it is taking jobs.
Yeah.
As Tony Robbins says, right? You bring the focus to the right things, you will start seeing where your focus is and how the things are. So you'll have to change
Yes.
the focus to make things happen. Deepak.
Yeah. 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 So, again, when somebody comes to you, let's say after listening to this interview or watching your talk or a LinkedIn post about you and tells you, Sudhir, help me build resilience in my organization. How do you work over there? What's your job? How do you see to it that you are able to do justice to what has been told to you?
Right. You said resilience to the individual or resilience
No,
in
to the organization, to the organization.
okay. So because now I think you understand there is a difference between both of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you see, Deepak ji, first of all, if anyone and everyone who wants to come in and take resilience into the mainstream, because that's what my motto is, they are most welcome, because we have to bring it to the mainstream for organization's benefit as well as to the individual as well. Now coming to your question, how do I take it when someone comes in and asks for the organizational resilience? We will, Deepak ji, it's for organization, it is not as straightforward as it's for individual. We will have to understand what exactly are the aspirations, or is the organization going through certain setbacks or the challenges, right?
Yeah,
And we also have to understand why is it happening. It's
yes.
for organization, it is just not a talk. For organization, it is the things which we need to do on the ground to bring the transformation happen, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that ways, organizational resilience or a session on organizational resilience will not happen in one session. Let me be very, very honest around that.
Yes.
It
Yes.
has to it has to go through a kind of a, I'll say, a time frame where this transformation can happen, and that resilience as a culture in the organization can be built in, right? And as I said, organization has to be very, very honest in their answers. What
Yes.
exactly are their setbacks, challenges? How are they failing? What are they aspiring to be, and how those aspirations are? There are a lot of things which at times organizations keeps under the carpet, and then expect that the organization will grow. So these are two different things. But yeah, there will be a strategy around that, Deepak ji.
Yes. So before we, approach our close and say byes, share with us one or two real life examples of you working, training, coaching individuals and organizations, the challenges you went through, and finally, how those organizations and individuals, were able to, learn from your experience and then take themselves to the next level.
Right. So uh, let me first talk about the individual, right? So as I say, right? So sometimes people are going through the hardships, and then they feel that they will be able to overcome all the hardships just because they are standing strong. To me, that is not sufficient. Standing strong is good. I'm not at all denying that. Please don't take me wrong, that you must definitely stand strong when the challenges come. But that alone is not sufficient. So you have to build a system around it. You have to take the support or the help whenever is needed. So I remember this lady, and this lady has, I remember all the hardships in her life, wherein she herself was not able to earn well. Her husband was also working, and then they had huge dreams for their kids, right? Uh, and I still remember that, how when I asked this question, that how are you able to, or rather planning to overcome all this, she did not have any answer, because she was not thinking to overcome this. She was just thinking to stay grounded and let it happen, right? So and as I said, right, one of the biggest findings which I found for that particular lady or person was, she was trying to do the betterment alone. Her husband was trying to do it alone. And then her son was also trying to do it all alone. Right? And let me also make a disclaimer here, Deepak ji, that every person's level of resilience, situational circumstances can be different. So this story does not mean it will fit into everywhere. So the first observation was, they were all trying to be individually resilient, where the need was to be collective resilient. Right? There's a word called collective resilience as well. So if you are all able to collaborate, you will be able to sail through it better. And then the second part was that she was too much focused into all the challenges, that she was not seeing what still is happening good. Right? And I had to bring that focus to those side as well. And I still remember her face, Deepak ji. I'm telling you, the moment I started asking her to focus on the good things, there was a huge smile on her face, because she was not even thinking on those sides, right? Those could be helpful. So cutting the long story short, to me, it was not, I didn't have to make her more resilient. I have to bring the resilience which they all were showing to a single collaborated effort, and then to sail through. What has happened now is, her son is in a very good school now. What has happened now is, they bought her own property and now building their home onto it. And she goes to the, because she comes from the medicine background, now she goes to hospitals and give lectures how to channelize the energy and how to make your life better. So which is very which is very heartening to see. So
Yeah,
more on
yeah,
the individual side, but coming on to the organizational side,
yeah.
being a technology guy, Deepak ji, uh,
Mm,
I worked with some, I'll say, smaller organization at this juncture of my career, and I sometimes, or rather, most of the times, I feel that they are not being, they are not being honest to themselves. First of all, to build that organizational resilience, and I also saw that organizations sometimes don't take resilience very seriously, which is again a sad thing.
yeah.
But one important aspect, Deepak ji, which I just want to take another 30 seconds and say, is the value thing, which is very important for an organizational resilience.
Mm,
What I mean to say is that there are two aspects. Once you say, you display the values in your notice boards and the boards in the organization, and the another side is when you live by it.
yeah.
In my sessions to the organization or the organizational resilience, I always focus on the values which an organization is carrying and how are they building it as a culture to their employees or to their organizations. And it
Mm,
could have a huge, huge effect. People don't know, but once you start depicting values, once you start showing values, employees are good enough to take it to the next level. They are,
mm,
we undervalue our people. People
yes,
once start understanding the values to which they are working for, they can
yeah,
do wonders to the organization. So this is just a
yes.
small example, Deepak Jai, I just
Yeah,
wanted to give.
yeah, yeah. Again, since we are talking about organizations, there is a concept called, a born leader. There are some people who we see lead companies, organizations, and other places where this word comes out. This person is a born leader. He has got, leadership traits in him. Would you say a person who is resilient or more resilient has better chances of leading rather than somebody who lacks resilience?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes, Deepak ji. A person or a leader who is a resilient leader, when I say resilient leader, I mean to say this. Let me also categorize it. A person who is willing to take more risks, who is willing to accept the failures. When I
Yeah.
when I mean risk, it does not mean a catastrophic level of risk, right? It should be well
Hmm.
calculated risk. But when a
Yeah.
person is ready to take risk and ready to accept the failures,
Yes.
he is ready to grow out of those failures. He
Yeah.
or she will be very easily able to transform those things back to his teams, to his peers, to his other set of leaders as well. So we'll all have to
Yeah.
understand this. So resilient leader is a huge, huge asset to an organization, to build resilience as a culture and to
Yeah.
contribute towards the organizational resilience, Deepak ji.
Wonderful. We have with us Harish Mehta ji, who has joined us right from the beginning, and he speaks on abundance. So, Harish ji, a little bit upon abundance and resilience and the marriage of both. Does a resilient leader or a person happen to be an abundant person, or if you apply abundance, then resilience automatically comes? Your views?
Deepak, it is a question of how much of resilience is installed in your mindset. I'm very happy to listen to Sudheer when he's saying, I help organizations create this. But how long does it take to create it is a challenge. Number two, what type of organizations are we looking at? Small, medium, large, or exceptionally large? Because leadership is not willing to become resilient
Hmm.
unless they see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how top leaders create a culture of resilience in the organization is a long story. It takes
Hmm.
ages.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, my question to Sudhir is, thus far he has been teaching, coaching on resilience. So, who is the one who is willing and who is the one who's not willing in organizations? And what levels are we talking about? A 500 crore company? A 50 people company? or a 5,000 people company. Resilience is a good word, you know. It looks
Mm.
good for writing notes on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It's good to say I am resilient coach. But my
Yes.
question is, how many people are willing to accept this as a concept, install it, and live the values of resilience in organizations?
Yes. Again,
That's a big,
let me
very big
just,
question. That's a very
yeah,
big
let
question.
me just take off from what Hariji said. So let's say you somebody came out to you, you met this small organization, we did a resiliency sort of a training or coaching, and then is there a part two? And then is there a part three? Do you continuously evolve and does this continuously keep on happening? Sudhi.
No, definitely, Deepak ji, and thank you very much, Harish ji, for your point as well. So, as I said in the beginning, right, if the scale has been learned and been left on that point as well itself, it is not going to help you for long. So,
Hmm.
it is totally up to the individual and organizations as well to what level do
Yeah.
they want to do it as well. And
Yeah.
we as a coaches or the mentors or the speakers, you can say, we
No.
Yeah.
definitely have to get on to the part two, part three, and part four, and maybe I'll say part five, six, seven as well.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
it is, see, from the technological background, we use this term. Sometimes you have to kill your own job to let the project go on. You know, there are
Yeah.
certain jobs wherein you have to kill
Yeah.
your own job to let the project go on. So
Yeah.
when we are talking about the resilience, it
Yes.
definitely cannot sit at the organizational level I'm talking about. It cannot
Hmm.
sit on an individual level, be it a
Yes.
mentor or a level or an employee. It has to
Yeah.
cascade basically. It has to be come up as a culture. And
Hmm.
I duly agree with Harish ji's point. It can with the bigger organizations at the level of Accenture, Microsoft, and all those things.
Yeah.
If you want to take whole of the organization, it will take ages. But the
Yeah.
change is always needs to start small, right? You want to take it to the one project, one department, one functioning areas, and then you have to take
Yes.
it on from there. And definitely has parts. I will never ever disagree to that, Deepak ji.
Wonderful. Ram Prasad ji is here and he's been to Antarctica twice. Who better to tell us a little bit about resilience from his experience, Ram Prasad
Sir, resilience developed from the childhood.
ji? Hmm.
I was born in a village, and that time I was not having any imagination that I will go to Antarctica. But
Hmm.
resilience was, I will tell you stories when I was in the 1 to 5th class in a school. My school was 3 kilometers away,
Hmm.
and in the village we were having no lights. So during the rainy season, there are a lot of insects coming. So we
Wow.
cannot study in the home. So
Hmm.
what we do, we come from school, and around 500 meters away from our village, there was mountain, and,
Hmm.
on the river bank of our canal, we used to do all our homework.
Wonderful.
So that was the resilience developed.
Yeah.
That is multiplied when you get the opportunity. So
Yes.
resilience is not a thing that which comes in a bulk. It is
Yes.
developed in stages, and in
Yes.
various stages come. So
Yeah.
all those resilience I applied in Antarctica, whatever
Yes.
I have done.
Yes, yes. Wonderful, wonderful real life example of how one graduates in life. It is these small, small things which you experience, which you live through, which gives you that expertise, which gives effect to compounding, which creates the resilience factor or resilience quotient or the resilient number which Sudhir is planning on developing and then telling us going ahead. Let me take this opportunity to
Just
thank
a minute,
one.
Deepak.
Yes, yes, Harishji, go ahead.
You mentioned the word abundance.
Yes,
There are two types of people, ones with scarcity mindset
yes.
and ones with have abundance mindset.
Hmm,
So once you look at shifting the mindset,
hmm.
resilient people will move towards abundance sooner than people with scarcity mindset
Yes.
Yes.
because they are willing, able, I can, I will, I must.
Hmm,
Then, should I, can I, will I?
hmm.
That is the type of people. And when you train such people, how many move, how soon, and stay there is the challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. What better way to close a class on resilience by talking about abundance.
Absolutely.
Only when you have that abundance mindset will that resilience allow you to move from where you are to where you want to be. Thank you, Sudheer, for joining us this Sunday afternoon, sharing with us your story, your experience, and how you are trying to make the world a little better place to be in by influencing, training, teaching, coaching, and mentoring individuals and organizations. This is the part which normally Payal takes to close the session, but she is not here due to a family exigency. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today, for listening to us, for being there, sharing your questions and expertise. And let me remind you not to miss the 256th Sunday Bloom Talk Show coming up next Sunday, 12:30 in the afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining in, and God bless us all.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much. Thanks
Sudhir.
a
Wish
lot.
you the very
Namaskar.
best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.